Today we are going to read part of chapter 11, which is Pippi celebrates her birthday. One day, Tommy and Anika found a letter in their mailbox. It was addressed to Timmy and Anika, and when they opened it, they found a card which read, Timmy, and by the way, Timmy spelled wrong. It's spelled T-M-M-Y, so you could probably infer who this is from. Timmy and Anika are invited to Pippi's tomorrow. Tomorrow is spelled T-O-M-O-R-O. To her birthday party. Dress whatever you like. Tommy and Anika were so happy they began to skip and dance. They understood perfectly well what was printed on the card, although the spelling was a little unusual. Pippi had had a great deal of trouble writing it. To be sure, she had not recognized the letter I in school the day she was there, but all the same, she could write a little. When she was sailing on the ocean, one of the sailors on her father's ship used to take her up on the deck in the evening now and then and try to teach her to write. Unfortunately, Pippi was not a very patient pupil. All of a sudden, she would say, "No, Frilldolf." That was his name. "No, Frilldolf. Bother all this learning. I can't study any more now because I must climb the mast to see what kind of weather we're going to have tomorrow." So it was no wonder the writing didn't go so well now. One whole night she sat struggling with that invitation, and at dawn, just as the stars were paling in the sky over Villa Villacula, she tiptoed over to Tommy and Anika's house and dropped the letter into their mailbox. As soon as Tommy and Anika came home from school, they began to get all dressed for her party. Anika asked her mother to curl her hair, and her mother did, and tied it with a big pink satin bow. Tommy combed his hair with water so that it would lie all nice and smooth. He certainly didn't want any curls. Then Anika wanted to put on her very best dress, but her mother thought she'd better not, for she was seldom neat and clean when she came home from Pippi's. So Anika had to be satisfied with her next best dress. Tommy didn't care what suit he wore so long as he looked nice. Of course, they had bought a present for Pippi. They had taken the money out of their own piggy banks, and on the way home from school had run into the toy shop on Main Street and bought a very beautiful, well, what they had bought was a secret for the time being. There it lay, wrapped in green paper and tied with a great deal of string. And when they were ready, Tommy took the package and off they went, followed by their mother's warning to take good care of their clothes. Anika was to carry the package part of the way, and they were both to hold it when they handed it to Pippi. That they had agreed upon. It was already November, and dusk came early. It's almost November right now. When Tommy and Anika went in through the gate of Villa Villacula, they held each other's hands tightly, because it was quite dark in Pippi's garden, and the wind sighed mournfully through the bare old trees. So it says the wind sighed mournfully. So a sigh is when you go, Can wind really sigh? Can a wind really do that? No. So that is a part of figurative language. When you give something that's not human a human characteristic, like the wind sighing, that's called personification. If you think about the word personification, the word person is in it. So when you give human-like characteristics to an object that's not a human, it's called personification. The wind sighed. Another one would be the door moaned open. A door really can't moan. Okay, those are examples of personification. "Seems like fall," said Tommy. It was so much pleasanter to see the lighted windows in Villa Villacula and to know that they were going to a birthday party. Ordinarily, Tommy and Anika rushed in through the kitchen door, but this time they went to the front door. The horse was not on the porch. Tommy gave a lively knock on the door. From inside came a low voice. "Who comes in the dark night on the road to my house? Is it a ghost or just a poor little mouse?" No, Pippi, it's us," shrieked Anika. "Open the door." Pippi opened the door. "Oh, Pippi, why did you say that about a ghost? I was so scared," said Anika, and completely forgot to congratulate Pippi. Pippi laughed heartily and opened the door to the kitchen. How good it was to come in where it was light and warm. The birthday party was to be in the kitchen because that was the pleasantest room in the house. There were only 2 other rooms on the first floor. The parlor, in which there was only 1 piece of furniture, and Pippi's bedroom. The kitchen was large and roomy, and Pippi had scrubbed it until it shone. She had put rugs on the floor and a large new cloth on the table. She had embroidered the cloth herself with flowers that certainly looked most remarkable. But Pippi declared that such flowers grew in furthest India, so of course that made them all right. The curtains were drawn and the fire burned merrily. On the wood box sat Mr. Nilsson banging pot lids together. In a corner stood the horse, for he too had been invited to the party. Now at last Tommy and Anika remembered that they were supposed to congratulate Pippi. Tommy bowed and Anika curtsied, and then they handed Pippi the green package and said, "May we congratulate you and wish you a happy birthday." Pippi thanked them and eagerly tore the package open, and there was a music box. Pippi was wild with delight. She patted Tommy and she patted Anika and she patted the music box and she patted the wrapping paper. She wound up the music box and with much plinking and plonking came out a melody that was probably supposed to be Ak du carré Alstion. I don't know what that is. Pippi wound and it seemed to forget everything else. But suddenly she remembered something. "Oh my goodness! You must have your birthday presents too," she said. "But it isn't our birthday," said Tommy and Anika. Pippi stared at them in amazement. "No, but it's my birthday, isn't it? And so I can give birthday presents too, can't I? Or does it say in your school books that such thing can't be done? Is it something to do with the old plusification that makes it impossible?" Remember, the plusification is multiplication. "Oh, of course it's possible," said Tommy. "It just isn't customary. But for my part, I'd be very glad to have a present." "Me too," said Anika. Pippi ran into the parlor and brought back 2 packages from the chest. When Tommy opened his, he found a little ivory flute, and in Anika's package was a lovely brooch shaped like a butterfly. The wings of the butterfly were set with blue and red and green stones. Do you know what a brooch is? You should definitely look up the definition of brooch, but it's a pin. A lot of times older women wear brooches, or if you're going to a fancy party, you wear a brooch. When they had all had their birthday presents, it was time to sit down at the table, where there were all sorts of cakes and buns. The cakes were rather peculiar in shape, but Pippi declared that they were just the kind of cakes they had in China. Pippi served hot chocolate with whipped cream, and the children were just about to begin their feast when Tommy said, When Mama and Papa have a party, the gentlemen always get cards telling them what ladies to take in to dinner. I think we ought to have cards too." "Okay," said Pippi. "Although it will be kind of hard for us because I'm the only gentleman here," said Tommy doubtfully. "Fiddlesticks," said Pippi. "Do you think Mr. Nilsson is a lady, maybe?" "Oh, of course not. I forgot Mr. Nilsson," said Tommy, and he sat down on the wood box and wrote on a card. "Mr. Settergren will have the pleasure of taking Miss Longstocking in to dinner." So Mr. Settergren is actually Tommy, and he's going to take Pippi in to dinner. "Mr. Settergren, that's me," he said with satisfaction and showed Pippi the card. Then he wrote on the next card, "Mr. Nilsson will have the pleasure of taking Miss Settergren in to dinner." Miss Settergren is Anika. "Okay, but the horse must have a card too," said Pippi decidedly, "even if he can't sit at the table." So Tommy, at Pippi's dictation, wrote, "The horse will have the pleasure of remaining in the corner where he will be served cakes and sugar." We're going to stop there. Please fill out one part of your book log We are going to finish chapter 11, which finishes our book tomorrow, and then you'll be able to finish your book log tomorrow as well.